It started like so many stories in the digital age, with a face, a phone, and a dream. Sana Yousaf, just 17 years old, had become a bright light in the vast galaxy of online influencers. Known for her gentle demeanor, thoughtful content, and connection with fans, she had cultivated a growing following on social media platforms through beauty tutorials, motivational snippets, and slices of daily teenage life. Her videos were often shot from her bedroom, simple and honest, yet her reach was anything but. By mid-2024, Sana had amassed thousands of followers who saw her not just as a creator, but as a friend, a sister, an inspiration. She represented a new generation of digital youth, authentic, ambitious, and tragically vulnerable. Because beneath the surface of likes and emojis, a nightmare was quietly forming, one that would take her life and shatter the illusion of safety in the influencer world forever. The news broke with chilling simplicity. Sana Yousaf had been murdered by a fan. The headline alone was enough to send shockwaves through social media, but the details were even more harrowing. Authorities confirmed that the teenage influencer had been targeted by a male admirer who had become obsessed with her. According to early reports, he had messaged her repeatedly over weeks, even months, growing more aggressive when his messages went unanswered. Sana, like many public figures her age, tried to keep boundaries. She reportedly blocked him after declining a series of increasingly uncomfortable direct messages and video calls. But instead of fading away, the rejection triggered something dangerous in him. What followed was not just a crime. It was a brutal reminder of how quickly online admiration can spiral into real-world obsession. To her fans, the idea that someone could go from follower to predator was inconceivable. Sana wasn't a celebrity in the traditional sense. She didn't have bodyguards, PR teams, or a gated mansion. She lived at home, went to school, and posted videos in between classes. Her content reflected a normal life, one that made her approachable, relatable, and ultimately exposed. The suspect reportedly found her location through tagged posts and background clues from her videos, a grim warning about digital breadcrumbs left unintentionally. In the end, he confronted her near her residence, and what should have been a mundane afternoon turned into a fatal encounter. The news of her death not only devastated her immediate community, but ignited an international debate on influencer safety, digital privacy, and the dangers of parasocial relationships. What makes this tragedy even more painful is how familiar Sana's story feels to so many young creators. Girls who smile into cameras, unaware of the eyes watching with intentions far darker than fandom. And while her voice has been silenced, her story has begun to echo across continents. Influencers, activists, and parents are now grappling with a question no one wants to ask. How do we protect the next Sana before it's too late? Beneath the outpouring of grief and hashtags lies a deep, festering conflict that stretches far beyond the tragedy itself. The widening gap between digital fame and personal safety. For influencers like Sana Yousaf, the internet offers an open stage but no security curtain. As her story unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't an isolated incident born of random violence. It was the culmination of a system that routinely fails to address the dangers influencers face behind the filtered lens of a ring light. Authorities revealed that the suspect, a man in his early 20s, had a long history of troubling online behavior. He had been flagged multiple times by other content creators for obsessive messaging, threats, and unwanted advances, but platforms had done little to curb his access. Even after being blocked by Sana, he created new accounts, bypassed restrictions, and continued contacting her under different names. Each message he sent chipped away at her peace, but there was no mechanism strong enough or fast enough to stop him. The dark truth is that parasocial relationships, once a topic for media scholars and psychologists, are now a ticking time bomb in the influencer era. Millions of followers feel a deep emotional connection to people they've never met. For some, that connection brings joy, community, and entertainment. But for others, it breeds entitlement, delusion, and possessiveness. In the suspect's mind, Sana was not just a girl on a screen, she was his. He reportedly confessed during initial questioning that he felt betrayed when she didn't reply to him, that her rejection pushed him into a rage. These words, chilling in their simplicity, reveal the heart of the conflict. What happens when admiration turns to obsession, and the digital world offers no clear line between public and private life? Her family, reeling from the loss, spoke out days after her funeral. With tears in their eyes and her favorite photo beside them, they pleaded for systemic change, not just in social media moderation, but in legal protections. Sana kept saying something felt wrong, her mother said during a televised interview. She tried to block him, she tried to report it, but nobody listened until it was too late. Her words resonated like a siren call to countless other families whose children live partially online. Meanwhile, female influencers across platforms began sharing their own near-miss stories. Accounts of stalkers showing up at meet and greets, packages arriving with no return address, strange messages escalating into threats. These stories had existed quietly in the shadows, dismissed as the price of fame, until now. The pressure now mounts not only on tech companies, but on society at large. Where are the safeguards? Why are there no clear channels for influencers, especially minors, to report harassment that feels threatening? Why are restraining orders rarely enforced when the threat is just online? These questions form the core of the conflict in Sana's case. Her death is no longer just a tragedy, it's a reckoning. One that demands answers from a digital culture that created a platform for her voice, but offered no shelter when that platform made her a target. Then, the moment of irreversible heartbreak arrived, not on a screen, not in a post, but in real life, with a single act of violence that silenced everything. On the afternoon Sana was attacked, neighbors reported hearing shouting near her home. One witness told investigators they heard a young girl scream, followed by a sudden, unnatural silence. Within minutes, emergency responders arrived, but it was already too late. Sana Yousaf, just 17 years old, full of life and promise, was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect, found nearby with bloodied clothing and a blank expression, was arrested without resistance. In his possession were multiple burner phones and a notebook containing disturbing entries, passages that revealed his obsession with Sana, his anger, and what appeared to be premeditated plans. Investigators described it as the kind of fixation that builds over time, unseen and uninterrupted. As details emerged, the true scale of the tragedy became even more haunting. Messages recovered from his phone showed a timeline of escalating attempts to contact her, dozens of DMs ignored, followed by hostile rants when she didn't respond. He had commented on nearly every video, disguised his identity across various accounts, and even tracked her routines through content she shared innocently, favorite coffee spots, street signs, the timing of her walks. What began as fan engagement turned into methodical surveillance. He wasn't just watching, he was studying her. In court, prosecutors read aloud portions of his messages where he referred to Sana as his soulmate, saying she owed him attention. His language was obsessive, his tone delusional, and the room fell silent as the horrifying realization set in. This wasn't spontaneous rage. It was planned possession. Meanwhile, social media erupted, not just with grief, but with fury. Sana's face, once associated with lighthearted makeup tutorials and teenage optimism, now circulated beside headlines screaming about obsession and tragedy. Hashtags like #JusticeForSana and #Protect creators surged across platforms. Influencers, some with millions of followers, began posting raw, tearful videos recounting their own stalker experiences, describing the fear of being watched, the frustration of being dismissed by police when threats didn't seem serious enough. Suddenly, Sana's story wasn't rare. It was shared. It was felt. It was feared. One creator posted, "We are one comment away from being Sana," and the post was shared over 100,000 times in 24 hours. The court hearings drew national attention, and images of the suspect, expressionless, unrepentant, only deepened public outrage. Sana's parents sat quietly, holding each other's hands as prosecutors played clips of her final videos, underscoring just how vibrant and full of life she had been only days before. As the judge denied bail and ordered psychological evaluation for the accused, a chilling silence settled over the courtroom. The justice system had finally taken notice, but too late to save her. The trial loomed, but for her loved ones, there was no verdict that could undo the loss, no sentence that could restore the voice they once heard every night through a phone screen. The climax of Sana Yousaf's story wasn't just her death, it was the world waking up, violently, to the cost of being seen. Now, in the aftermath of tragedy, a new kind of movement has begun to take shape. One led not by influencers chasing likes, but by survivors, parents, digital rights advocates, and grieving fans who refused to let Sana Yousaf's death fade into a cautionary tale. Her funeral, held just days after the court hearing, became more than a private farewell. It was a public reckoning. Hundreds gathered in silence, many holding candles and photos, while across the world, virtual vigils were streamed live in her memory. Her closest friends described her as soft-spoken but strong, a girl who made everyone feel seen, even as she herself had been hunted in silence. And in that contradiction lies the reflection now gripping the digital generation. How could someone so loved, so visible, be so unprotected? And so, the name Sana Yousaf now echoes far beyond the realm of followers and filters. Her story has become a mirror, one reflecting the fragile line between admiration and obsession, the illusion of connection, and the high cost of fame in a world that's always watching. Though her life was short, her impact is lasting. And for every young girl picking up a phone to share her voice, her story is now part of the warning, part of the memory, and part of the reason to push for change. In the silence she left behind, a louder conversation has begun. One about boundaries, safety, and the right to be seen without being hunted. Her light was stolen, but her message burns on.